Hi, welcome to the Histrology Show. I am your producer, host, and novice historian, Gwen.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Roth. I am a licensed therapist and unlicensed astrologer.
Quick note before we get started, this is meant to be a very casual conversation about these two subjects, history and astrology. So if you're somebody who takes either of them very seriously, this might not be the show for you.
Thanks, Gwen. There are indeed limits to the observable universe, and nothing's real.
And with that, let's get started. Today we are talking about a woman who has been described as many things, including pragmatic, prudent, wise, bold, confident, sovereign, sagacious. We are talking about none other than Gloriana herself, Queen Elizabeth I.
She is the queen when we say, yes, queen.
100%.
Yeah,
She
the
is,
OG.
she's the one. So Queen Elizabeth was born around 3 p.m. on September 7th, 1533. Not exactly sure where, but that makes her big three.
She's a Sag rising,
The Sag rising.
a Virgo sun, and a Capricorn moon.
Okay, the Virgo sun is, iconic.
The Virgin Queen. I mean, sometimes the universe is a little on the nose.
I don't
It's a little
believe
trite.
astrology. I don't believe in it. Anyway, she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn and King Henry VIII. So, first of all, before we get started, I need to say this. Queen Elizabeth I is probably one of the most recorded people in Western history. Okay, the audiobook on her life is over 30 hours long. Nobody has time. This is like Queen Elizabeth 101. Okay, this is very basic Queen Elizabeth history. Sorry, there's only so much we can cover.
It's true. And the BBC has 4,000 million
documentaries
about this woman. So,
literally,
yes.
like probably everything, you probably aren't going to be hearing anything really new or revolutionary. It's a very brief overview of her life, so please don't hate me. Because you could go on forever.
Yeah.
Everything was recorded.
Or drag us in the comments. We can use the publicity.
Hey! Yeah, also sponsor us, because then I can actually hire someone to help me do the research and actually listen to 30 hours of audiobook. I would love to know all of the details.
We do our own research. Keep that in mind.
Support us. So, yeah, some context about the family that Queen Elizabeth was born into. King Henry VIII was having a really hard time conceiving a male heir with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. He had one daughter with her, Mary, but the son really wasn't happening. And this was, of course, a problem for him. He really wanted to produce an heir. And so he defied the Pope by divorcing his wife. He basically was like, how can I get out of this marriage so that I can marry a younger woman who will give me a son? And so he was like, I'm Protestant now, and Protestants are allowed to get divorces, so bye. The Pope was like, what the hell? Anyway,
Men literally changed their religion before going to therapy. That's what I take from that.
Yeah, totally. This is the least worst thing that King Henry VIII does, though. So I'm like, savvy, good one, King Henry VIII. That you let your wife live and you just changed your religion. No worries.
Yeah.
Fine with that. Yeah, the Protestant Reformation was happening at this time. This is a big part of Elizabeth's story. So it's the Protestants versus the Catholics. So just keep that in mind. It's a major conflict. It affects Elizabeth's whole career and life. So just put a pin in that. So Anne Boleyn is Henry's second wife. She is Elizabeth's mother. She has Elizabeth, and Henry is like kind of disappointed because it's a girl. And he's like, that's okay. We're young. We'll have a son, I'm sure. But they end up never having a son. She has a bunch of miscarriages and stillbirths. And at the age of 3, Elizabeth is 3 when her mother is beheaded. King Henry VIII was like, treason, adultery, kill her. Again, just trying to get out of his marriage so he could marry somebody else.
Because it was considered her problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's 8 of them.
The wives?
Yeah.
No, I think there's only 6.
6.
But
okay.
still, I mean.
Maybe it's a him thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. Perhaps.
No, of course not. I could never. This kind of delegitimizes Elizabeth, but isn't that big of a deal. You know, she's kind of sent off to live elsewhere, which is sad for her. You know, her mom was a very involved mother for a queen. You know, she was around Elizabeth a lot, and so it's sad that she was beheaded. Later down the line, Henry he'll marry many times. He'll have many wives. At the age of like 8 or 9, I think, he beheads another wife. Elizabeth is 8 or 9. And I think, she's a little bit older now. She's a little bit wiser. She goes, oh. And that is when she's quoted saying, at the age of 8, I will never marry. For the people in the back, at the age of 8, Queen Elizabeth said she would never marry.
It's true. Little girls were like dressing up and dreaming of their wedding day, but she watched several of her father's wives get beheaded.
She was like, yeah, no.
This doesn't look good for me.
Yeah. Very, very wise.
Yes.
Wise
yes,
young
perceptive.
Girl. Perceptive. She was a very educated and studious and talented young woman. She spoke like 8 languages, including Greek and Welsh, which is crazy. She was good at everything, pretty much. She was really smart. She was horseback riding and hunting and doing needlework and calligraphy. She was just good at it all.
Renaissance woman. Girl.
Renaissance girl. She was pretty impressive as a young person. Eventually, King Henry VIII does have a son. His name is Edward. And so the line of succession goes Edward, Mary, his first daughter, and then Queen Elizabeth. However, that's pretty far down on the line because if Henry had any other sons, they would come after Edward. If Edward had any sons, they would come before Mary. If Mary had any sons, they would come before Elizabeth. So it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't seem necessarily super likely that she's going to become queen. So in 1547, Henry dies, and Edward, who is just 9 years old, is crowned king.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty good king. He's 9. He has his council and
he got a gold star in kingmanship. I don't know what happens when you're a 9-year-old king.
Yeah, he has a lot of advisors that are pretty much doing the job for him. But he had his passions. He was a Protestant, for example, so he was on that side of things.
Protestant.
He was a very religious young boy. From all accounts, he was kind of meek, and the women in his life, he really cared about them, but they were kind of taken away from him, and Elizabeth and Mary and his stepmothers. So pretty much the men in his council are like, don't talk to those women, we'll help you. And yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to that. During this time, while Edward is king, Elizabeth is living with Henry's last wife, Catherine Parr. Mm-hmm. So they're in the same household. She is not an evil stepmother, actually. We like archetypes on this show. She is not an evil stepmother. She really cares about Henry's 3 kids. She really advocates for them. She makes sure they get a great education. However, there is a man, Thomas Seymour, who is actually Edward's uncle. He's a very ambitious man, let's put it that way. And he wants power, and so he sets his sights on Elizabeth. Elizabeth is 13 at this time. And so she literally says to him, neither my age nor my inclinations make me a good match to marry, right? She's young and she never wants to marry. We already know this about her. And so he turns his ambitions towards Catherine Parr, the woman that Elizabeth is living with.
Okay.
So he ends up moving into the same house as them because he marries her.
Okay.
Which is good for Catherine Parr. I mean, not really, because this guy's just a player and trying to gain as much power as he can in his lifetime, and is maybe just marrying her because he can be in the same house as Elizabeth. Who knows? Who knows? Whatever. This guy was just a sleazeball.
Yeah.
Catherine Parr was in love with him, so it's like,
girl,
I know, but Catherine Parr's okay.
Yeah.
She was.
She's a widow.
Like her. Yeah. Anyway, he's living in the same house as Elizabeth, and they pretty much start a romp. They start romping with one another.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yes. He would tickle her and get into bed with her and tickle her and slap her bottom. And he was very wise to do this in front of other people so that it didn't come off as him putting moves onto her. It was like just good family fun.
Look at me, stepdad.
Being
Yeah.
stepdad of the year.
I'm the dad who stepped up and tickled. Okay.
And tickled people.
These
Yeah.
were different times.
It was it's still weird.
These were the same times.
It's weird. It's not good. And poor Elizabeth, she's 13. She is probably a little flattered by this, a little smitten.
I'm hearing a fawn response all over this.
Oh.
Yeah.
So at one point they get caught in an embrace.
Okay.
Because he keeps pushing it farther and farther and farther. It's
Shocking.
yeah, it becomes clear that he is trying to sleep with Elizabeth. They're caught in an embrace. Catherine Parr, of course, freaks out and throws Elizabeth out of the house, which is sad. She does come around eventually. She does, she's like, okay, it wasn't really Elizabeth's fault. She was only 13 years old. And she even says to Elizabeth, she's quoted saying, take care of yourself, be studious. I believe you are destined by God to become the ruler of England.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bold statement, but guess what? She was right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I kind of like Catherine Parr. I think she's kind of cool. Anywho, Edward rules for a few years. He's young. He has advisors. He's a devout Protestant. That's pretty much his legacy because unfortunately in 1553 he dies at the age of 15. Just got sick and died. They don't have good science back then. They don't know what it was.
There's also so much subtext to all of this.
Yeah.
As power has. So interesting.
Yeah, I think, there's, there was some plots against him. I think somebody found a dagger outside of his bedroom at one point. I mean, he's a young boy. He's a young boy who holds a lot of power.
Yes.
So there's potentially people targeting him, but who knows?
Yes.
The official, death thing is that he got sick and he died,
Yes.
which also happened a lot.
Yes, it did. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but this is when nations they're breaking away from the Catholic Church and becoming their own nations as we know today.
Right.
And this whole Catholic Protestant thing is it's a huge deal.
It's a huge
It's a
deal.
huge deal.
And he's an
People are
open
dying.
Protestant.
Yeah, it's like how we're going to think of the whole universe. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. The Catholic Church is
They're
freaking
losing.
out.
Yes.
They're losing their shit.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so they are freaking out. And so Edward did a lot to kind of push the Protestant agenda, and the Catholic Church is freaking out. But luckily for them,
Mm-hmm.
Mary inherits the throne, and she is a staunch Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
So she undoes everything that Edward did. She starts burning people at the stake for being Protestant.
So
Which
being
is-
a citizen now, you're like, I'm Protestant. Oh, no, I'm Catholic.
Exactly. Exactly.
Interesting.
You pretty much just described exactly what Elizabeth was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really kept her religious beliefs to herself, but everyone believes that she was Protestant in her private life. But then when Mary became queen, she had to be very savvy about this, and she never openly stated that she was Protestant. She would go to all of the Catholic ceremonies and things like that to just appease Mary, because Mary was literally killing people for being Protestant.
Yeah. Oh my
And not
gosh.
just killing them, but burning them at the stake, which is insane.
It is almost like religion isn't about people's relationship with divine, but just expedient political power. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe we should make a whole morality around it.
weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's another reason why we end up loving Elizabeth a little bit down the road. So we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Mary is queen. She's a terror. She becomes known as Bloody Mary. R.I.P. Mary, you would have loved brunch.
Oh, I was thinking that say it in the mirror. She would have loved.
Oh,
She does not seem like she'd be fun at brunch.
no, but I will say that I am a Bloody Mary girl.
Yes.
What about you, Bloody Mary?
Well, I'm sober now, so it's called a bloody shame.
Hell yeah! Oh, what a shame.
Yes.
It's a Virgin Mary.
Right. Oh, no, not her. Okay. We'll get
It's a
there, too.
combo of the two of
There
them.
we go.
Yeah.
We should call her Virgin Elizabeth.
A Virgin
That's what
Elizabeth.
we're reclaiming brunch.
We're reclaiming brunch as sober girlies.
Yeah.
Bring it on. But yeah, in my drinking days, I was a Bloody Mary girl, not a mimosa girl.
Mhm.
So go Bloody Mary. Anyway.
What a legacy.
And it was like a fun brunch thing, and she was burning people at the stake. So I don't know. So yeah, Mary is having this reign of terror. She locks Elizabeth up in the Tower of London for potentially being Protestant, but she never actually like. Well, she obviously doesn't kill Elizabeth, but she kind of toys with the idea, or she's very weary of Elizabeth.
Yeah, they aren't. I guess you could say they have some family drama, but they aren't monsters. Like there's. It's interesting the way they negotiate the like. Yeah, their role, the political roles in private family life.
Yes.
That would be hard.
It would be hard, totally. Yeah, you're fighting against like your familial instincts, but then
Yeah,
you
they're
have
still
this
people.
throne that you need to care about, and this comes up later in Elizabeth's story when we talk about Mary, Queen of Scots, her
Yes.
cousin, of course. I think that they probably would have felt the same way about Edward too, who is their sweet young brother. But I think also like having to fight against other female monarchs was probably difficult as well. Like,
Yeah. Yes, because it's so gendered. Like they
Yeah.
probably spend a lot of time together.
yeah.
Yeah. Homegirls.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Who wants to do that? Nobody. Like fight. Who wants to fight their cousin or their sister?
Yeah.
It's not great. Mary ends up never getting pregnant. She has a bunch of like false pregnancies, and it's clear that she's probably never going to have a baby. They think they think she suffered from cervical cancer, probably.
Okay.
And she dies in 1558. It was a very short reign of terror.
Interesting.
And so our girl,
What seemed like a long shot.
our girl
Yeah.
at the age of 25 inherits the throne. She becomes the Queen of England. 25. That's a good time to become queen.
Right before your Saturn return. You're like, you're young, you're thriving, you're perky, you're doing it.
Yes, it's great. I really love this for her. The very, very first thing she does is she praises God. Like they come up to her, they're like, they bow, right? Hello, queen, you're now the queen. And she's like, this is God's will. That's like pretty much the first thing that happens. But then the next thing that happens is that she consults her astrologer, John
Wise.
D. Yeah, to pick a really auspicious day for her coronation. She wants to have a successful reign. So what does she do? She consults an astrologer, of course. He seemed like a really interesting guy, by the way. He eventually like ran away to learn about the occult and the secrets of the universe. Can't blame him.
Yeah.
What else are we doing here?
Yeah. We'll see where this podcast goes over the next few months.
The secrets of the occult. If we're on the typical podcast journey,
Yes.
we'll be there in a month.
Yeah, we'll be talking to aliens by 2026.
Easily. So the auspicious coronation day ends up being the 15th of January, 1559. It said that she had a very gracious entrance into the city. She's talking to people, the commoners. She's accepting gifts from them. This is a smart move. Elizabeth is so smart. That's the thing about it, is she's not like Machiavelli. She knows, well, she's manipulative, you know. I don't know how much she actually really cares about people, but she knows that she has to be on their side. She has to be a woman for the people. She understands that. She was really a master of propaganda. So like this entrance into the city is one example. She really goes out of her way to talk to people and accept gifts and to show herself. Another example is her portraits throughout her career are extravagant. She is made sure to be painted very specifically, to always look young, to always look healthy, to always look powerful.
So white.
She's so white.
So white.
Yeah, but she has great hair, probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That wasn't that soon.
Not forever. She does get smallpox and like loses a lot of hair, and then also gets a lot of scars. So
But she's just caking. She is beat to the gods.
that lead-based paint.
Yeah.
She just loads that lead-based makeup onto her face. She wears cool wigs. It's giving Chapel Roan.
Her chaperone's giving her.
It is.
It's
Yeah,
the
of
reason
course.
this is like iconic, I guess, just to like sneak into the astrology. She has Pluto in the first house, and that is a signature of absolute Riz. Like
Nice.
just like Leo DiCaprio, Justin Bieber, Britney Spears, Keanu Reeves. This is a
Aw.
very powerful Sharon Tate. Like it's not always Nikola Tesla. Like it's a very Ryan Reynolds. Like it's just a very
Yeah.
charismatic kind of placement. And I think she and the people who worked with her knew that she was going to be a star.
Yeah,
She's
and
very
she
magnetic.
was.
Yeah.
She's so smart. Like she could probably wit anyone under the table. You know,
Mhm.
she's so smart and witty, and she knew how to keep her power politically, which I think is the biggest shame in Queen Elizabeth's story, is that we don't think that she was smart enough to have these ideas and to play her political cards. We just assume that she was a poor woman who never married,
Yes.
and it was because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
She was unattractive, or
Yes, it
not
was.
not marryable for some
It was,
reason.
yeah, it wasn't seen as a strategy. It was always seen as like a pity.
This poor
Yeah.
queen never married. Bullshit. I'm
Yeah.
calling bullshit right now. Like,
Mhm.
it was a political move. Yeah, because that's the other thing I was going to bring up. So when she comes into power, she immediately replaces almost everybody, probably 50% or a little bit more of her council, and puts in people that she really knows and that she really trusts,
Mhm.
which is really smart. You know, that's like a huge political move to make, to pick good people to be your advisors.
Yes.
And not just accepting who was there before, but being like, I know, she's like the director, right? She knows this person is going to be really good at this job, and I can trust what they have to say. Picking good people to be on your team and to support you is it's a smart thing. Like, also no credit, you know? Like, it's good to have your privy council
Your privy council.
that you can trust wholeheartedly.
Yeah, not something a 9-year-old's doing. Like she.
Poor not
Yeah.
poor Edward
Yeah.
was probably just like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, but she was like, I want this person, I want this person, I want this
Mhm.
person. She deserves a lot of credit, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah, she's of course pressured immediately to marry. But we know our girl, she is not going to get married. And so she pretty much just like teases people her whole career.
She's a professional tease.
She's a professional tease. She knows that this is her biggest bargaining chip. She knows that if she gets married, she's handing all of her power to her husband, which is something she doesn't want to do.
The whole kingdom.
Yeah, like
Queendom.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything is gone at
Yeah.
that point. She also knows that if she is single, that there are going to be many, many suitors who are interested in marrying her, and so she's going to be able to form a lot of alliances.
Yeah, this isn't just Tinder. Like these are like princes and like
Yes.
like very powerful people. that
Very
are coming
powerful
to-
men.
to curry favor with her.
Yes.
So she's really kind of like doing it for England.
She is.
Yeah.
She's just a great political leader,
Yeah.
like an actual political leader.
She knows how to play the game.
She does. And
Don't
so
hate the player, hate the game.
I love her. I
Yeah.
think she's fantastic. And yeah, also, it's no surprise that she doesn't want to marry because King Henry VIII was her father. It can't be stated enough.
Yes, we do have some signatures of daddy issues in this chart.
Why would you want to marry if a husband's just going to chop off your head? He's going to
Yeah.
say you cheated and chop off your head.
Yeah, the personal is political here.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting to see, just witnessing a life, right? How these like formative sort of issues and project outward into this very clever strategy.
And yeah, she like harnessed it for the
Yes.
power, like for good.
Yes.
Which is amazing. A lot of people, I think, take those things and it can sabotage them for a long
Yeah.
time. She really was like, oh, my trauma, like grabbed it by the reins.
Yeah.
And was like steered it in a really interesting way.
True, and she didn't have any kids. Now that you're speaking, I'm like, wow, I wonder if they had some like genetic issues with like reproductive organs, because it just seemed like lots of problems. So
Lots
why
of
would she make herself vulnerable to that?
Right.
Yeah,
Totally.
smart.
She's so smart.
Yeah.
I love her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a bold thing to do at the time. Not have a husband.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Her counsel is so mad.
Okay.
Every time, like, cause she'll, like, they'll be like, this person is interested in you. We think you should explore it. And she'd be like, okay. And then she would like flirt with them and go on a couple dates, and she would drag it out for as long as she could, because she'd be like, my
Nice.
counsel isn't bothering me because they think I'm suiting this
Yeah.
guy. And then at the very end, she'd be like, oh, I can't marry him because da 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 da.
Yeah.
She would always come up with an excuse, and they would be like, okay, what about this guy? And then she would do that with the next guy for a little while. And she just always did that every time. And so I think her charm really worked in her favor. She was just so smart about
Yes.
how she navigated this. She was never going to marry. And she said, I am married to England. And
She
God has
was.
made me this way, and it is perfect.
Yes.
And there's nothing people could really say about that. If you pull the God card, people can't really
It's true.
say
Yeah.
anything.
Even when people are like contesting who, like, what God is. It's divine, which is how astrologers can be quite manipulative.
Oh,
Sorry, it's in the stars.
exactly right. We all have our thing that
Yeah.
we blame things on.
Hmm.
So speaking of God, the other, like pretty much like the first order of business when Elizabeth becomes queen is to figure out this whole Protestant Catholic thing. She comes up with a great compromise, believe it or not. She never chooses sides, but she says, I'm going to form a new church. It's going to be the Church of England. I am in charge of it. You all have to swear fealty to me now, whether you're Protestant or Catholic.
Mm.
And it was like pretty much Protestantism, but then she threw in some Catholic like ceremonies or like, traditions, I guess, some Catholic traditions to appease the Catholics.
I'm just looking. I haven't looked at this, but she does have Mercury in Libra, and I'm saying this as a Libra sign. I'm like, weaponized indecisiveness was this woman's greatest asset. So good.
It's so
Yeah.
smart. She kind of, gosh, I don't have this quote written down. I'm sorry, but she does kind of say like, it's God. You either believe in God or you don't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so,
Which people weren't really thinking of because they were so at war with each other.
and because it's
Brilliant.
obviously a power grab.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
what they care about, not
Yeah.
actually praising God.
Yeah, she went there.
She kind of called their bluff. And she was like, well, we're going to just call it the Church of England now. And so bow down to me.
And this emergent nation separate from the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
Yeah, super powerful.
Really smart again.
Yeah.
Just a compromise. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So,
Female leaders, am I right?
right. England was a mess when she inherited the
Sounds
throne,
like it. Yeah.
by the way. Her father was very extravagant, spent a lot of money. Her brother was a literal child, and her sister wasn't exactly fit to rule. So when she took the throne,
Like, why are we spending so much money on beheadings? We need an armas.
stakes, fire, there's got to be a cheaper way.
Yeah.
So when Elizabeth took over, the economy was terrible. The country was over 200,000 pounds in debt. I have no idea. Like, you can't use an inflation calculator on 1560, unfortunately. But they also had no fleet of ships to defend themselves.
And this was the time everyone was doing that.
Trade had gone down.
Yeah.
Like, England is just a mess. And
Portugal
she's like,
just running laps on this nation.
Spain was
Spain,
the
okay.
big one.
Yeah.
Right? And she's just like, oh my God. I can imagine. She's like, she really pushed up her sleeves. She was
Yeah.
like, let's get to
Those
work.
are heavy sleeves.
Let's go. So, however, under her reign, she had a very successful reign, and under her reign, England experienced a golden age, which is amazing.
That we're like still obsessed with today.
Yes,
Shakespeare, all the things. Every time we think of England, we actually think of this England,
we
I'd say.
do. We do. I don't like Tudor England, and she's just one of England's most beloved monarchs.
Yeah.
People love her, and rightfully so. And I'm so glad we're having this kind of reclaiming of Elizabeth.
Mhm.
I don't know if it I think we've always been kind of obsessed with her,
Mhm.
but we'll get to it. I think with the whole Mary Queen of Scots, I think she was maybe demonized a little bit for being a really strong, powerful woman.
Yeah, okay.
And so we'll get there, but let's just talk about some of her successes, right? So a lot of people were living in the poverty line when she took over, and there was kind of a welfare void because that's what the Catholic Church was doing. There was a lot of vagrants, let's say, at this time. and there were lots of laws against them.
Okay.
But she was able to kind of change some of the laws and also change the perception around poor people. So just because you're poor and disenfranchised doesn't mean that you're a troublemaker.
Oh, interesting.
Like there are, yeah. So before that, people just assumed all poor people were troublemakers and deserved to be arrested or whatever. And so she was able to kind of change the public perception of that a little bit. She instated the Poor Law in 1601, which provided national relief to the disenfranchised.
Interesting.
That's a huge legacy.
Yes, but again, making people the subject of a nation more than anything else.
Yes.
Everyone. Yeah, even the poors.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting.
Just because you're having a tough time doesn't mean you're out there wreaking havoc.
Yeah, because
You
people were
know?
just vagrants were just like gypsies. I think like some similar concepts, stateless,
Exactly.
penniless people would.
Wandering,
Yeah.
you know, and not having a lot of possessions or
Yeah.
things. So she really, to me, that's a huge legacy in my opinion. She also removed all of the currency, debased it, melted it down, and then replaced it with new gold and silver with her face on it, which is obviously the first thing you would do if you became queen.
Queen. That's amazing.
Of course. She also never, she tried really, she didn't never, but she tried really hard to avoid war. She knew that war was really expensive. She didn't want to go to war. She was a very frugal queen, I would say. She got ships, right? They didn't have any ships to defend themselves, but the ships that she invested in were multi-purpose. So they were warships and trade ships. Whereas before, they would have separate ships to do different things, and she was thrifty. She was like, no, all of the ships are going to be able to do everything.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, this is not that important, but I thought it was interesting. In 1658, England's first lottery was instated, and it didn't do that great. It was trying to raise money for the government, but it's still around today, right? The lottery is still super popular, and in 2023, over 900 million pounds went to the English government in the lottery duty. And in America, taxes from lottery sales go to the states. And so in 2023, states earned a total of over $30 billion just from lottery sales. However, our federal government takes taxes out of the prize money,
Fascinating.
which is sketchy to me.
Yes.
Whatever.
I mean, the whole thing's a little sketchy, but leads to, again, like this like national recirculation of money within, the government. Yeah.
It's just
Giving people a sense of pride and
hope, I guess.
hope.
False hope more than anything.
Yeah.
But but it is a ton of money. I didn't realize that. So that was interesting to look into.
Interesting.
Most importantly, I would say that in her time, literacy, writing, and theater thrived. So during her reign, 30% of men and 10% of women were able to read, which is a huge increase. No, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a huge increase. Shakespeare happened pretty much because of Queen Elizabeth. She was a huge fan of his work. She was a huge fan of the theater. She really supported the literacy arts at this time. In her time, travel, trade, and map making all increased. England was back on the map, so to speak. And another major thing that she's known for is that she actually defeated the Spanish Armada, which is insane. This was like the strongest army at the time. And right before this fight happened, which, side note, I don't think it was all because of just power and will. I think fortune was on her side a little bit. The weather wasn't so great for the Spanish Armada, the way they were trying to attack.
Okay.
But maybe that's because she did her coronation day on a really auspicious day, and now she's getting some of the payoff of that.
Yes.
Anyway, right before the defeat of the Spanish Armada, she gave a very famous speech where she said, by the way, she was like in battle armor on a horse talking to her
like
troops.
corseted.
Yeah. Side saddle.
Yeah.
No.
Like, sir.
Little push-up.
Yeah.
She said, "My loving people, let tyrants fear. I am come to live and die amongst you all, to lay down for my God and my kingdom and my people, my honor and my blood, even in the dust. I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and the stomach of a king, and a king of England too. And I think foul scorn that any prince of Europe should dare to invade the borders of my realm. I myself will take up arms. I myself will be your general and judge and rewarder of every one of your virtues on the field.
One of the people.
You'd be fired up.
Yeah, I kind of am.
You'd be,
Yeah.
Did I do okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd be fired up. You'd be ready to fight. You'd be like, that's my queen. All in all, Elizabeth had a very successful reign, right?
It was long.
40 years by herself, and is, like we said, one of England's most loved monarchs. However, no one is perfect, and so we want to just touch on some of those things that didn't go great for her. She did kill around 200 Catholics at one point, but that's because they were planning a revolt against her.
Okay.
So, I mean, what are you gonna do? She also executes her cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots, which was pretty controversial. Is still controversial to this day. I'd say that I think history has kind of lifted up Mary, Queen of Scots a little bit as like, oh, poor Mary, Queen of Scots was executed by her cousin, Queen Elizabeth, the cold, hard Queen Elizabeth.
I did. Yeah, and she's always portrayed as much more beautiful. Well, actually, I have their sinister chart. I forgot to bring it up.
That's what I was gonna say, is I think that the reason we have kind of taken Mary, Queen of Scots' side in this whole debacle is because she's more beautiful. She's more feminine. She exudes more feminine traits. She was dating terrible men who were telling her they were plotting to take over the throne. They were plotting to take the throne away from Elizabeth. So what's Elizabeth supposed to do? I mean, she avoided this conflict for many, many, many years. She had heard that there was maybe some plots against her, and so she just put Mary, Queen of Scots on house arrest for a really long time, which is like a castle in the countryside. You know, it's fine.
Great. Sounds lovely.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
But it turns out that, a spy found out that there was a plan and it was getting put into place. And so she couldn't avoid the conflict any longer. And she had to make the call to execute her, which I'm sure was really traumatic for her. First of all, this is her cousin. It's another female monarch in the family. And she doesn't want to execute anybody. Her mother was executed. You know? So I think it's annoying that throughout time we've kind of taken this stance of like, oh, poor Mary, Queen of Scots. Oh, that cold, hard bitch, Queen Elizabeth. You know? I don't think that's really fair. Did you pull up their chart? Anything you want to say about that? Or
I mean, I think, let's see. Right, they kind of have these this opposite destiny, but it shows that if you're into the sort of reincarnation thing, they have a lot of karma between them. And Elizabeth just has a lot of signatures of a lot of pain in her intimate realm, but it's interesting how that is alchemized in the public sphere. But especially in a house related to siblings, which your cousins sound a lot like. A lot of disillusionment and a disruption of that kind of connection. And so she was probably pretty lonely.
Yeah.
But she had England.
She had England.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get back to her personal life in a second. But while we're on the subject of kind of the things that Elizabeth wasn't perfect with, the last thing I really wanted to point out.
Sorry, Virgos. Sorry.
I did use the word perfect. We do have to mention that Queen Elizabeth, of course, had an imperialist mindset. So England wasn't really an imperialist power at this time, but she wanted them to be. And so that was a goal that she really laid the groundwork for, which we don't love.
She created the monster that we come to know today.
In hindsight, it's not
the transatlantic slave trade.
And she loved sugar, for example. So I'm sure
yes.
wherever sugar was being harvested and processed, I doubt those workers were being paid adequately and treated well.
Yeah, say what you will about sugar, it pretty much created chattel slavery. It's a pain in the thing to grow, and
Yeah.
they just pretty much destroyed the Caribbean for it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
So these are things that we do, like,
Yeah.
as much as we love Queen Elizabeth, you know, in hindsight, there's obviously some things that we don't love. I'm sure they were really looking down their nose at certain types of people, at the world at large, like definitely having a view of like resources,
Yeah.
you know, and extracting resources from other countries, other people. It's just an imperialist mindset. And so we love her and we want to champion her, but I think it's important to just mention that as well. Like, there's
Which isn't an
obviously-
accident that we love her, right? We've been like told how amazing she is. And she, again, yeah, yes, and she's very powerful, but like her job was kind of just to exploit people and land.
Right. Yeah. She did a lot of good things, but yeah, that was the mindset back then. And I think that's an important point that you bring up. Like, we've been taught that this is an important person in history. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people from all over the world who didn't have an imperialist mindset. They were just minding their own freaking business, who are probably fantastic. And I would love to know about them.
Yeah.
But
We
they
do,
don't have
yeah.
30 plus hours of recorded history on them. You know, we don't even know who those people are. We're trying to get to the bottom of it.
We are, yes.
But I think that part of this show too is like finding those unique stories, hopefully down the line, but also, yeah, trying to put famous historical stories and people into a different context.
Yes.
Constantly retelling history so that we can be like, oh yeah, but this was not great and it led to this.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. Back to her personal life, though, you said that she was probably kind of a lonely person, and Elizabeth was known. She goes down in history as the Virgin Queen, but she probably wasn't an actual virgin.
Yes.
Let's be real. She had a suitor, a man in her court that she was very fond of. His name was Robert Dudley. And they were said to even have rooms very close to each other. He had a private room that was very close to hers. They would spend evenings together. So we can imagine what was going on. Her affection for him was just very obvious whenever they were at court together. He had had 2 wives over the course of his life, and Elizabeth was kind of a jealous lover. That's not great for her because, I mean, like, she just needs to face the facts, right? Like, she's never gonna marry. And she couldn't, even if she wanted to marry, she can't marry Robert Dudley. He is not fit enough for her. He doesn't have a high enough rank. So, I
And
mean,
he's a Cancer male.
yeah,
a little
no, thank
emotional.
you.
Not very compatible, but we'll get into that.
So yeah, I just think that her being, but she had this kind of rage and jealousy
Okay.
as well.
Yeah,
And
she's the queen.
she was a queen. She
Yeah.
was like, I should be able to be with you, and you shouldn't have to marry anyone else. But he
Mhm.
also had to do what he had to do for his marriage. Is a political thing,
Yes.
right? It's not a romance thing. Even today, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna make the.
I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud.
say it. I think marriage is bullshit.
Except no one cares that we're not married. It's not historical.
It's not as huge of a political state. It's not like, yeah, changing the history of America, the fact that we're not getting married. But it is a political act. It's not a romance act. Everybody get over it. Anyway, I just want to say that she has these images of being strong, bold. She was a jealous lover, so she had kind of a rage side to her. She was very witty. She's so intelligent and smart, but she was also sentimental. And this is a part that I don't think gets talked about often. But Dudley had died. Robert Dudley had died before she did. And when she died, they had discovered, like a chest or something of her most prized possessions. And in there was a letter from him where she had written on it his last letter. And so this was kept in her most prized possessions. She really did love this man. She held him very dear. And also in this kind of pile of things that are most sacred to her, there was a piece of jewelry that had 2 Tudor women in it, kind of one of old-fashioned and then a younger one. And so this is presumed to be her and her mother. And she kept this very close to her for her whole life. So she was a very sentimental woman, despite her strength and all of these other things that we remember about her.
Yes, I mean, so her moon is also in her first house, and it's in Capricorn. Capricorn's an earth sign. Think of like the Capricorns you might know. It's a signature where you like really think through your feelings, so it probably was a strength for her. She kind of learned how to utilize emotion, like at that speech, to serve her. But yeah, probably wasn't like the most like, I don't know, like she probably was more like reserved. Her love language was probably a little more reserved, I'd say. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think she probably struggled. She was a very smart and savvy person. She
Yeah.
probably struggled with her true feelings and
Yes.
relatable.
Yeah.
So Queen Elizabeth died on March 24th, 1603, probably from ammonia and lead poisoning.
Go figure.
Her final weeks were really rough. She, was weak, forgetful. She had a really gnarly sore throat.
I bet you she was still wearing that makeup, though. I
No,
bet you.
literally,
Oh,
that's what I was just gonna say.
sorry.
She was declining, but she held firmly onto her image until her last days, until the bitter
Icon.
end. She dressed in full regalia the whole time.
insane.
She stood. She refused to sit down. She knew she was getting weakened, so she refused to sit down. She stood until she collapsed.
Like held up by the bones of her corset only. Like, with all due respect, probably looking like Bozo the Clown. Like,
Yeah. She wasn't hot at this point.
that is iconic, though.
It's so iconic.
Absolute icon.
Like she really,
Yeah.
like she went on strong.
Yeah.
She also refused to name a successor because she, of course, didn't have any children.
Weaponized indecisiveness.
Literally, just keep putting it off. Keep kicking
Yeah.
that can down the road,
Yeah.
baby. Oh, kicking the can. Oops. That's death, isn't it? Kicking the can? No, kicking the bucket.
Kicking the bucket.
Sorry.
Either way.
Kicking
Yeah.
the bucket down the road. No. She refused to name a successor right up until her death. And at her death, it's kind of contested who she said, but it ends up coming out that she had named James VI of Scotland to be named king. And that was actually Mary, Queen of Scots' son.
Okay.
Which I think is a really
Yeah,
nice thing
like
to do.
amends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the ultimate shade. Who's to say? It sounds like amends. Yeah.
I think it's amends.
Yeah.
Our girl was sentimental. She
Yeah.
really didn't want to mess with people that way, I
Yeah.
don't think. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. Anyway, fun facts about Queen Elizabeth. She was really vain. She had over 2,000 pairs of gloves. She never wore the same outfit twice.
That's incredible. That's an outfit. Like, that's a lot.
Could you imagine getting rid of that? Like, that corset's good.
Yeah.
And the snake on the arm, it's good.
I don't know. Yeah. Huh, I wonder if they
Okay.
had like kind of like thrift stores like we do, and there's just vagrants
I don't-
walking around with
I
like
don't-
velvet. Yeah.
That's a good question, actually. We're
Yeah.
going to look into the history of the clothes back then and what happened to them
Yeah.
after they were discarded. Probably went to make new clothes.
That's true.
Probably reused the
Yeah.
fabric, is my thought. I don't think they just threw it out.
Expensive fabric. Yeah, just
Yeah. I think her dressmaker probably reworked it. We'll get back to you on
Yeah.
that. We'll look into it. She would spend over 4 hours a day getting ready and would require her ladies to look plain,
Mm-hmm.
which is a boss move.
Mm-hmm.
I already talked about this. She had smallpox, which left her with a lot of scarring, which why she would cake on the makeup. It would be like visible how much makeup she would have on, which is crazy. And she also wore a lot of wigs. Again, this is lead-based makeup. She had a huge sweet tooth. Like I said, she loved sugar. She was all about sugar. And so she had really rotten teeth.
Mm.
And my favorite story of hers is that she had supposedly broken one of her lady-in-waiting's fingers with a hairbrush when she found out that she had gotten married without her permission. I love that story. That's amazing. She was like, what? Anyway, her legacy is huge, can't be understated. People love her. In America, Virginia is named after her. Virginia. There's lots of Queen Elizabeth in pop culture. There's been, as we said, 10 million like BBC and PBS documentaries made about her. You can look them all up on the internet. But there's also been over a dozen narrative films about her as well. The most famous is probably just Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth II, The Golden Age, where Kate Blanchett plays her. But then Judi Dench also plays her in Shakespeare in Love, which won Best Picture.
Yeah.
And Margot Robbie actually plays her in a film called Mary Queen of Scots.
Okay, Barbie. Yeah.
I know, which I heard wasn't very good. But
Okay.
again, I didn't have time to watch everything because there's so much. It could go on forever.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. That's what I had for our girl. Sorry, this was the Cliff Notes version. I hope if you know a lot about her, this probably wasn't very exciting. But if you don't know anything about her, I hope now you know and you like Queen Elizabeth I.
That seems impossible. Like she really is.
Oh, to not know
Like
anything.
such like an icon of like our modern understanding of history.
Yeah.
This like weird anomaly
Yeah.
that kind of like really makes a cohesive narrative when you think about it.
She's amazing. I love her story. So tell us about her chart. What's going on?
Let's see. Let's start with the furthest planet, Pluto. It's the slowest moving planet, so it affects us generationally, right? It's usually it's got a funky little orbit, so it stays in different signs for different lengths of time.
Funky little orbit. Sorry.
Yeah. So much, and astronomers keep on trying to downgrade Pluto, which I think is just an archetypal representation of how little we want to acknowledge our unconscious desires, which is what Pluto tends to represent, right? It's the ruler of Scorpio. It's like what's not obvious, what's below the surface, what might be a little sneaky, and so again, it drives our psyches on a generational level, and so she's a fun person to look at because she was born under Pluto in Aquarius, and that is where we are right now. Yeah, like Aquarius, right? A real humanitarian sign that I think can be like kind of encapsulated by her, like that, especially that speech, like I'm one of you. So she really got at, I think, that collective will to feel empowered. But we're not quite there yet, right? She still was a monarchy. And as we're recording this on October 31st of 2025, right? There's this like,
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. A dying Queen Elizabeth I is what I wish I was.
Yeah, totally.
That sounds horrifying. Just like teeth.
What a great
She
costume.
would have loved Halloween. Oh my gosh, the sugar of it all.
Yeah, so true.
But yeah, like in this moment too, there's all these like populist movements coming up, then getting co-opted by like the few people we have in leadership. So there's just this tension.
Yeah.
And speaking of tension, the other planets in our chart to look at are also this conjunction between Uranus and Saturn. So these are also slower moving planets that not as slow as Pluto, but they do tend to move generationally. Right? Like one's generation, y'all have like, what is it? Like in Capricorn, Saturn, and maybe it's Saturn and Uranus.
We have a lot in Capricorn.
Yes.
But like, you're only a couple years older than me.
I
So we were
know.
just born in those weird places where it changed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it just wasn't quite a conjunction.
Yeah. Okay.
So Uranus and Saturn, right? So this kind of is considered, let's see, I'll talk about this a lot. Every planet goes like this, Uranus goes like this. I love Uranus. It radicalizes anything it touches. And Saturn is like the daddy of, mythologically the daddy. And so like in sort of a personal way, like this manifestation of daddy issues, right? A real radical approach to like how she relates to a father. So much so that she never like engaged with one at all, right? Maybe someone else's daddy, but yes. But this kind of transit that happens every few hundred years is called the March of Progress or the myth of progress, right? So it just shows that, like, to quote Charles Harvey, it's symbolic of the remorseless building up and breaking down of ideas, nations, cultures, and civilization, right? She really does rescue England from this, like, severe downturn to build it up again, but as we've talked, like at the expense of other empires really crumbling. So yeah, like archetypally, these planetary gods, Saturn and Uranus, have always had an antagonistic relationship in Greek myth. I think, what is it? So Uranus was the sky god, and he was the father of Saturn, who later castrated Uranus and took his place as ruler. Yeah, so like drama, but Saturn represents structures, and Uranus is like, again, like counters that with like revolution. And I think it also kind of manifests when we get into these dialectical struggles, right? Like Catholic versus Protestant.
Yeah.
And so her being born into that consciousness, I think she knew how to dance with it, you know? So let's talk now about the inner planets in her chart, are like the ones that are called personal planets. So, let's start with the sun in Virgo. Like, it doesn't get more obvious than that. She's the
Yeah.
Virgin Queen. Her sun is in Virgo. Where is it on her chart? It is in like the IC of her, or no, the midheaven of her chart, right? The most public part of her chart is
Wow.
like shining down.
And she
Um,
literally is the Virgin Queen.
Yeah, it's quite literal sometimes.
Yeah.
And conjunct Venus also in Virgo. Um, so let's talk about virginity.
Okay.
Um,
Fun.
it's often seen as like simply a woman or girl who hasn't had sex.
Yeah.
But that's not the origin of this term. It's kind of interesting that like that history that I'm about to go over has been erased.
Yes.
So virgins were Vestal virgins, and they were priestesses to the goddess Vesta in ancient Rome. She was the Roman goddess of the hearth, the home, and the sacred flame. And like this was before electricity. The flame was really important for cooking, for warmth, for all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so these were young when girls. These women were selected to be in service 30 years,
Okay.
maintaining the sacred flame, often in temples, like literally keeping the hearth. And yes, because should this fire go out, it was a bad omen. So they had
So
a
were
big
they-
job.
Yeah. Were they just called virgins because it was Vesta?
No, they were virgins because they did not marry or have sex with a man.
Because they did. Okay.
After
But,
service, they could do whatever they wanted.
yeah.
But why
gotcha.
they were keeping the flame, as young women, until they like graduated, they
Right.
were not to interface romantically or sexually with men at all.
Gotcha.
But it's interesting because they still were considered very high value in society.
Yeah.
They enjoyed unique privileges for women, like owning property, front row seats at games, which we know the Romans loved. They could free prisoners with touch, and they were just like highly respected because they, like her, they were strategic enough to not like align themselves with a man because it could have been the wrong man, and they
Yeah.
would have lost a lot of power.
Yeah.
Um,
Somebody needs to make a movie about them.
that's so true.
Yeah, they're really
Oh
cool.
my gosh, I'm like, who would play Vesta? And then like who would be like the like virgin who like gets with a man?
Yeah.
Because it should be said, the women were punished, but the men would be put to death for sullying a Vestal virgin.
Wow.
So,
Put to death.
yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably what it took for them to be respected.
Yes.
One of the fun things that to complete Elizabeth's chart, like we can barely scratch the surface here too.
Yeah.
But there's, again, in astrology, we have Venus and the moon, and those are the only like feminine sort of planets.
Yeah.
We do have like feminine signs and masculine signs, but like pretty much an underrepresentation of lady energy, feminine
Yeah.
energy. So Vesta is also an asteroid, and these are things you can look up in your chart. And these asteroids were discovered in the early 18th century, but became very popular in the 1970s because as these asteroids were discovered, they were all named after goddesses, and often goddesses of different cultures, like Hawaiian and just,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of Roman and Greek, of course.
Yeah.
But to me, it represents the emergence of the feminine in the modern psyche.
Cool.
And the placements Elizabeth has with these asteroids, which again we all have in our chart, even boys, are really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So they all represent different like aspects of being a woman, femininity. So Juno, right, who was the wife of Zeus, was in her first house, conjunct her moon in Capricorn. Like she is her own wife. You know, the first house, the house of self.
Gotcha.
It's also like then in opposition to this whole like daddy problem, like Uranus Saturn. that she did like a very fine job sort of reconciling. What else do we see with her? I mean, she has Vesta conjunct Pallas Athene in the house ruled by Virgo. So just like a continuation of this like very strong independent woman energy. And let's see. I think that's all I have for Queen Elizabeth. I mean, we can go on and on. Sorry, I have so many notes because it's so complex.
It's a lot. I was so overwhelmed doing research for Elizabeth.
Yes, but she really was a woman of her time.
Yeah.
Yes, and a Leo North node, right? So she really.
I was wondering where Leo was in there.
Yes,
Come on.
yes, exactly. This lifetime, right? She is her time to shine.
Yeah.
And again, that was also in like the sort of public in the chart, right? The bottom half is usually private life, the top half is public life.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and she does have these kind of like oppositions that just show how she has been able to like balance two things at once, rectify like paradoxes, or just not choose a side, which is something she's really good at.
Yeah, she was really good at that for her advantage. Like it wasn't like she was just ditzy and dumb and not deciding things. She was
like girls never know what they want for dinner. We're being strategic.
Yeah, we're being strategic. She weaponized.
You choose. You make the mistake. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, totally. Cool.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That's Liz.
What would you say about Queen Elizabeth if like astrology 101 to people? Like somebody who's like doesn't know anything about astrology or only knows the very basic thing about astrology. What would you sum her up saying?
Oh, I mean, if you want to understand the Virgo archetype, like she's the perfect embodiment of that. Yeah.
Because well, literally because of the whole Virgin Queen thing, but then also like is it because of like how she presents herself to the world? Or
yeah, it's so interesting. So many things that like we associate in like the sort of pop culture understanding of Virgo. She does like Virgos want to be of service, and then they also can be perfectionists. It's the last, so like Aries, the first few signs of the zodiac for me, they represent like our stages of development, and the wheel moves from like individuation, right, in Aries to Libra, our relationship with the other, back to Pisces, the collective. And Virgo is right before Libra, right? So it's our final sign of the individual, and it's a sign of self-reflection and self-criticism. It's right when we're gaining consciousness that like, oh, we're one of many, so let me check myself. So that is again why like, oh, let me be of service to others. They can be hypercritical of self, so there often is like a fixation with perfection and presentation. I think of Beyonce too. Like apparently Beyonce like has footage of herself constantly all the time, and she has a library, and no one else is allowed to take video of her at her concert. Like every once in a while, like a journalist will get like a bad photo of her. Like they made the news a few years ago because there's no bad photos of Beyonce because she owns them all.
Wow.
Yeah, and I feel like very similar vibe over here.
Wow. I feel like the way you described that makes a lot of sense to me. Like the wheel of the zodiac and it being a journey of birthing into yourself back to the collective.
Back to the soup. Yeah.
Back in the soup, if we will. And so her being the last sign of the self, so it's still heavily self-oriented, still really aware of public image, more aware of public image than somebody like a Sag or an Aquarius, who are a little more inclined to think about the collective.
The down, like they're already back to the soup almost.
More towards the soup,
like
right.
More ethereal, more meta. Yeah, I mean Virgo comes after Libra, and I had a friend who once said it was like kind of the hangover. I'm not sorry, after Leo. So it's like the hangover after Leo. It's like, look what I can do! I can create. It's like a 5-year-old like holding up like their like hand drawing. Yeah, exactly. And then Virgo's like, did I do that right? Did everyone like that? It's like Virgos when you leave a party, you're like, did I need to say that? And so she's, as a good Virgo, she got in front of the story all the time.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And it was her trauma, you know, I think that whole, the trauma she had with Thomas Seymour when she was a teenager, that was a big shameful event for her when they were caught in the embrace.
Mhm.
And it made her realize, oh, I think it took away her naivete about the world and definitely her image and her power and her place in the world and how much that wields, how much she
Mhm.
really, how much power she really wields. But then also, like, probably learned a lot about men and the world and power and how all of that works.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh, I need to be really, really mindful as I walk through the world.
Yeah, I mean, her Venus is in Virgo, which is a signature associated with like really needing to be respected.
Yes.
Opposite Pisces and Neptune, so it sounded like she had this very like kind of like probably some delusionment like about like like what love is at a young age, and then she was like again, and with the beheading, she was probably like, screw this, I'm gonna be my own wife. Like this is, I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
Unless it's exclusively on my terms, which it seems like she was able to figure out with
She
good
was-
old Dudley there.
She was able to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that reverberated through every aspect of her life. I think there's probably plenty of times when her counsel or people were giving her advice and saying, do this or do that. And she was like, no, it's going to be this way.
Yeah, she had
You
the final
know?
say.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
She's cool.
She is cool.
We like
yeah.
her.
She had a job and she did it, Yeah. Go off, queen.
Go off, queen.
Yeah.
Well, this
Okay.
was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next episode is going to be Nelson Mandela.
Hmm.
Ooh,
How interesting.
very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or is it mandala?
Nice. All right, thanks everyone. See you later. Bye.